Your Daily 180, 180 seconds of pure Bible study.
We're finishing up John chapter 2, verses 1 through 11. Jesus is at a feast in Cana of Galilee. If you have some questions about some of the hurdles, we talked about those last week. Was Jesus being rude to his mother? Did his mother force him into performing miracles prematurely? Did Jesus make beverage alcohol? We talked about all that last week. And I would invite you to go look at that. A couple of lessons I want us to consider today. Isn't it interesting that our Lord was a social individual? You know, we got to be careful about too much speculation, but I think there's a sense in which we can use our sanctified imagination, and we can see our Lord. And we do that oftentimes, whether we admit it or not. And I can remember as a young man, I kind of saw Jesus as very stoic and separated from the crowd and scowling. Why would you go to a wedding if you're going to do that? He was part of the festivities. I'm not saying he behaved in an unbecoming way, but he was a social person. God created us to be social beings. God himself, we talked about this in John chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. With God, there's that face-to-face association in the Godhead. We're created in the image of God. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. That means we're like God. And one of those aspects is we're beings of choice, but also we're social beings, and we're created for that. God did not create us to be hermits. But furthermore, when he performs this miracle, there was a purpose behind it, and it wasn't just to satisfy mom. I don't believe that enters the picture. But notice what happens in verse number 11. It says it's the beginning of signs. And remember, the idea of a sign is it's not just something marvelous, but it points to something else. And notice what happens as a result of that. This beginning of signs Jesus did in Cana of Galilee and manifested his glory. His glory. People could say, this is not something that a man could do. This is superhuman in demonstration. Nicodemus is going to refer to his signs. No one can do the things that you do unless God is with him. But furthermore, notice this. And his disciples believed in him. The same can happen to us today as we examine the evidence. It's kind of a shame that last week, and I apologize for this, but I felt like it was necessary to deal with some of the hurdles in John 2. But you know what? As we just step back and we see his marvelous power and the effect that it had on other people, it should lead us to the conclusion Jesus is exactly who he says that he is. He is the Christ, the Son of the living God, and we owe him our total, absolute allegiance. Join us again.